Hello and welcome back to an Everquest guide. Today we're going to talk about armor progression and where you go. So I have a spreadsheet I've made today, kind of over time actually. I've been working on it, but I finished it up today. So there's a lot to go over here and we're going to kind of go through it here. So all the stats you see here in the middle column for AC, HP, mana, and endurance, these are all based on a warrior. In the cases of it's warrior only. If it's mixed use, you'll see the mana here. So like Paragon armor is warrior, Shadow Knight, Paladin, Bard, Cleric, I think. So they all share the same thing. Same with Defiant. So I kind of explain that, but like the biggest question I always get is what armor should I be wearing at what level and whatnot. And this is a full comprehensive list of all of the major armor classes, armor sets, I guess, throughout all the expansions from 75 and above. So Secrets of Fadar is where this starts. This is based, all this information is for live servers. So TLP, you're going to have different results in certain cases, but for the most part, if you're at the Secrets of Fadar, your bestest slot is probably going to be, you know, something around that area kind of thing. All right, so simple enough. So for levels 1 to 80, you're going to want to wear Defiant armor. This is Crude Defiant, Simple Defiant, Flawed Defiant, Ornate Defiant, Intricate Defiant, whatever it is, right? Defiant armor. It goes from 1 to 80 in different variations. When you get to the last tier, you're going to have, I think that's the one that's recommended level 80, I think. Or, yeah, I think it's something level 80, around that general area. It's 98 armor class, 396 HP. Not that great for level 80 armor. As you will see here at level 75, you can get Warped Steel armor from the Secrets of Fadar expansion, which is, you know, so it's not as good, but it has more armor class, and that kind of, in my opinion, makes it a little bit better. But you need the Warped Steel to make the Martial Steel here, which is it's significantly better, right? And that's the tier 3 Secrets of Fadar armor. And then there is another tier on top of that, which is even better. And so there's kind of a theme that goes through all this, right? There's a tier. You start out in an expansion, tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, whatever, right? Some of these expansions, based on the notes I got from raidloot.com, Alakazam, and EQ Resource, they all have different tierings. So like Secrets of Fadar for some reason starts at tier 2. So I don't know why, but for the most part, this is how it is. There's sets before this, right? If you're on a TLP server, you know, there's a Planes of Power set, there's a and whatnot, for all the different expansions before that. A lot of those are raid based. These are all group based sets, so you can take your 6 characters, your 6 friends, whatever, and you can go acquire this armor. So all right, so I just want to make all that clear. Hopefully I'm going in the right direction here. So you start Defiant. Once you get into, you know, out of Defiant, you're going to want to move to one of these sets here. So if you're in the 75, you're going to start looking to this. So some of these are harder to get, right? These aren't just, you know, walk into an expansion and you get the armor, right? You have to do some work. I know this one is a random drop off of names. That's kind of the theme for most of these. This one takes this one plus a random drop off the next tier of names, and I believe it's the same here, the Cloud Steel. And I believe here in the Secrets of Fade, where tier 4, there's Earth, Air, Water, and Fire variations of the set, from what I remember. And this is just the Air version, but they all had pretty much identical stats. So just depends on how you get the pieces you need to make that armor, and that's at level 80. And then at the next expansion after there, Seeds of Destruction. Now you can get this Archaic Plate, which is a 70 to 75. So you might have some of this, but you notice that once you get to tier 4 right here, Seeds of Destruction, it's way better than the previous one. So there's overlap in all of these ranges. So you can kind of jump to the next expansion if you're trying to do certain things for yourself, right? Like say I want to get all the achievements in Secrets of Fedor before I go to Seeds of Destruction, or you know, so and so on. So you will hit overlaps. But the downside is some of these, like I don't remember if it's the Seeds of Destruction ones, like they require the previous set. So the balanced iron bone here is used in the tarnished iron bone, and that's the warrior specific armor, right? And you notice that you get a, you know what, it's 100 HP, 10-ish AC kind of upgrades as you go through these, right? And if you're doing a progression server, you know, obviously you'd want to stay and progress through all of these, right? It's, for some reason, they don't have a tier 2. I don't know why, but there is no tier 2 in that one. Just, this is going off of Alakazam for the stats and stuff. But if you're on live servers and you're doing Seeds of Destruction, there's Paragon armor, which is better than everything before it. And you get this from the achievements. You don't have to do anything except do the quests in Seeds of Destruction, and you get this armor. And it's generally better than everything before it. My personal progress path is Defiant Paragon. I skip all of this and I go straight to Paragon on live servers. It's possible. You might have some issues in certain places, but the Paragon armor, the achievement quests start at the level 70, 75 area. So that expansion had kind of an overlap with the previous expansion level-wise. So it makes it a little bit easier to get, right? You start getting your first few pieces of Paragon armor, and you don't even have to fight mobs that are, you know, max level for that expansion. So, and then after Seeds of Destruction is Underfoot. You're going to want to pick up some of this armor. Now, you may be able to, if you have full Paragon, you should be able to, you know, maybe progress through, you know, tier 6, because the way the numbering works here, it looks like Seeds of Destruction tier 5, then jumped into the next tier, Underfoot tier 6. I think that's the way it went. That's just the way Alakazam numbers it, but don't let that confuse you. So if you don't have Paragon armor, if you have Tarnished Ironbone, you're going to want to go into Stellite armor here. But if you have Paragon armor, you could jump probably straight past it and go into the Vidalium Earth Wall. That's the warrior specific armor, I believe. I think that's the name. But it'll have this Vidalium, and a lot of these armors, they have trade skill components to them to be able to make the armor. So keep that in mind. You might have to buy some things along with drops. So you'd want to progress through the Underfoot, and you could theoretically, go from Paragon straight to Obtruse armor. Obtruse is the House of Thule armor. You can do it. I've done it. It's possible, but you have to stay in House of Thule tier 1 for a little while until you max out all your spots in House of Thule tier 1. So that's all the armor, and you got to farm the jewelry in the tier 1 and the weapons and everything there. You have to farm it all tier 1 before you can progress. Otherwise, it gets a little hard really fast. As you can see, the difference between tier 1 House of Thule and then tier 2 House of Thule is actually kind of big. 200 HP. And that's like per piece, right? This is just I'm using the stats of the warrior breastplate in all cases here, and you know, 200 times what? How many ever item slots? At least 8 body slots, right? That's, you know, a good chunk of HP that you're gonna be losing if you do not follow the upgrade path, right? You might be able to make it. You might be able to handle the mobs in tier 2 with tier 1 gear, or you know, tier 9 Underfoot gear, right? You might be able to skip that tier 1 if you already have all of the Underfoot gear. It just depends, but this is the progression of the natural way of things, and where you can jump in and jump out is kind of where you have to know for yourself and your group, or your your boxed characters. Tier 2 is these. Look at the upgrade differences here. It's 200 HP. I'll just ignore the change, right? That was almost another 200 HP, and then almost another 200 HP. So the difference between the first set is almost 600 HP. Let's just call it what it is, right? Almost 600 HP, and what is that? 27 armor class between tier 1 and tier 4 group armor in this one. And that adds up. Even like 5 AC, in my opinion, adds up a lot over time. If you put a 5 AC and AUG in every slot, that adds up to how many ever AUG slots you got, right? That's a lot of AC. And after the House of Thule comes the Veil of Alaris, and you can kind of see here that the Veil of Alaris tier 1 is better than the tier 3 House of Thule. So there's a little overlap there, right? So maybe you didn't go all the way through House of Thule, but you're ready to go, you're 90 plus. So this one, requires level 90, but you're still maybe you're like 87, and you didn't quite finish this. You can jump in here into tier 1, and you have good enough gear. You can see that tier 2 Veil of Alaris destroys tier 4 of House of Thule, right? So it kind of, if I had the camera on, right, you could kind of see how everything overlaps, and I'm doing hand things right now, but everything overlaps, and there's always a catch-up mechanic, almost, if you will, at each of these expansions. So, and we keep going over 1900 hit points, 2100, right? And then we get into Reign of Fear. So this goes from level 90, and then the level cap got raised, I believe, from 95 to 100, right? So I think I'm looking at this right here. Yeah, I might have the number wrong on that one, but I think that's 90 to 95 right there, instead of it might just be 95. But so you go here to the next one. So this is the tier 1 Reign of Fear is way better than the tier 4 of Veil of Alaris tier. So I'm thinking there's a level overlap right there. As long as there is, we'll just keep going with it like that, right? And you can see here, this armor just blows away everything else before it. If you can get it, you can get it. If you can't get it, it's alright. You're gonna farm. A lot of the pieces for the armor drops from named mobs and stuff like that in these different expansions. So, and the named mobs are always, a few levels in strength higher than a common mob. I've been one shot by a named mob, whereas I can kill normal mobs all day long. The difficulty is quite a jump in some cases. All right, so that's a Reign of Fear. We're at 2600 now, right? Now we get into the next one. So this is still level 100. So Reign of Fear caps out at 100, and I think Call of the Forsaken stays at 100. And so you just get another, 400, 500 HP, I think, from the 2 tiers there. But there's only 2 tiers in the Call of the Forsaken. I've only seen like 2 pieces of this drop. I've done more gribbles than I can possibly imagine, and I've only seen 2 or 3 pieces of the armor drop, so it's kind of rare to get. It maybe I'm just doing it in the wrong spots, but there's also a vendor, a Marks of Valor vendor, you can buy some of this stuff from, and I think you can buy everything previous to this expansion from those vendors too. But you can see you're gonna want to either go into that armor or jump over that armor. And we'll get to how you can jump over a lot of this stuff to kind of skip ahead if you have the power to do so. So now we're into the Darkened Sea. You can see here it's barely any difference, but it's still kind of that's still level 100 armor, right? Barely any difference. But tier 2 kind of jumps it up a little bit right there, almost 100 HP, and then tier 3, another 200 HP onto that. The Darkened Sea did raise the cap from 100 to 105, so it is a level cap increase expansion. So you expect it to be a little, pretty good jump in that. And you're always going to want the highest AC as a tank anyway. This is for a warrior because I'm planning out a warrior series, and that's why I have all this kind of compiled for a lot of this. But AC is the king in this game. All right, so this comes to the Broken Mirror, right? So you're done with the Darkened Sea, we're in Broken Mirror. Broken Mirror is a very special case. They did something completely different in this expansion from everything else. There's 3 tiers. The first tier, well, let me explain it better. The first tier, the armor all has AUGs on it. It is an AUG-based armor set, right? But it has more AUGs than any other armor in the game. So you can get I think it's a type, maybe it's a type 8 and yeah, type 8 and a type 5. Type 8 gives you kind of like I'm saying the right one, there's a huge stat increase that comes with it, and these are level based. So you can buy the level 75 version, it gives you some stats. The level 80 version gives you stats, right? I have a whole video on the broken armor, the Broken Mirror armor sets and stuff like that, but this set is kind of cool because you can go in here at level 75 and you can buy the currency that you can use to buy the armor. So at levels, I think 70, you can buy the first set. You might have to do the quest and mission first, but it's level 75, so you're not going to have any problem with that. It's really easy. I've soloed it with a monk. I've soloed it with a necromancer. I've done it with 6 boxing. It's not a hard mission to do. But once you do that, you can buy the armor. It costs like 10 tokens for each thing, right? And then the AUGs cost more money. They're based on Remnants of Tranquility, and you can buy those in the auction house bazaar for whatever your server sells them for. Or you can do the missions and get them from the missions. But you have to buy the AUGs to upgrade the armor. So there's the Type 5, which is the heroic stats. I think it's a Type 8 that is the stats, right? And each of those go for each level. And it's it'll take the level 75 shell armor, and it'll upgrade it to a level 105 armor, or 90, whatever level you buy, it'll upgrade it. You just upgrade the AUGs. You only change the armor. You keep the shell of the armor and you just upgrade it. Completely different way they've done it in any other expansion, but it was kind of cool. I thought it was neat. And it's really helpful. Like if you can get the Remnants of Tranquility really cheap, you should be able to do it. There's 3 tiers of the shell armor, and that's kind of where this goes, right? The tier 1 you can buy from the vendor in Plane of Tranquility, and you can buy the AUGs in the Plane of Health. Tier 2 comes from the revamped Plane of Hate, Plane of Fear versions of the zone, where you get faction and then you can buy them from a vendor in the Plane of Health. I have never done that. I've never done tier 2. I've never even tried. I plan on doing it on upcoming series, but I've never gone through the effort of farming the faction to get it. I've always skipped from tier 2 all the way to tier 3. And tier 3 is Crypt Hunter. So Crypt Hunter are armor shells, if you will, the containers that hold the AUGs and stuff like that. They drop from the names in the missions from the Broken Mirror quests and stuff like that. So to me, it's much easier to get. It's better stats, and it's just less effort on trying to break the new fear or the new Plane of Hate is painful. At least I found it painful. I got killed at 120 on my necromancer trying to go in there and do it for a video, so it is what it is. But that's why these stats are kind of question marks. The base armor class is like something in the 200s, and then you upgrade it. It can change throughout that. My estimate is it's about 4,000-ish hit points maxed out, give or take, right? And it just depends on what you have, but it's better than the previous set because it's, you know, it's 105, and it, you know, it is what it is. But it scales. It's really nice. I definitely recommend it if you have the remnants of tranquility to finance that. It takes about 100,000, I think, to make a set of level 105 gear. I think I had a full set on my Shadow Knight at one point in time. All right, now you're done with the Broken Mirror. You're ready. You're in Empires of Kunark, and the first armor set is the Cohorts. It is a fairly good set. These draw from the named. You can pick that up. I think you just click it and you get the armor for whatever class you are. I can't remember, honestly, but there's something to do. It's 4,200 HP. There's a tier 2, which comes from the tier 2 zone. So there's like, they started adding a concept of like a tier 1 and a tier 2 zone for a lot of these expansions going forward. They had tiers before, but now there's only like a tier 1 and a tier 2 moving forward from here. So the tier 1 is, you know, the intro levels, the intro zones and stuff like that. And the tier 2 is the next tier, the harder ones that are deeper in the expansions. So you see there's like, you know, almost 300 point, well, actually, yeah, whatever, like that. You see that it's a pretty good upgrade going from one to the other. But if you're playing on live, right, you could just go to the next tier because these are, you know, they overlap a lot. So these are all, Empires of Kunark was not a level cap increase expansion. It stayed at 105. But the next expansion, Ring of Scale, was a level cap increase, so 105 to 110. So you can either, you know, just probably jump right in from TBM straight to Ring of Scale if you want, or you know, you can get the scaled one. These are all dropped from the names, but the Conflagrant armor here is a new concept they introduced in the modern form. This modern form now will stay with the rest of the expansions going forward, is they add a trade skill tier. Now, in some cases, the trade skill tier is the best you can get for group armor. But from what I can tell, the Conflagrant armor is not as good as the tier 2 Ring of Scale armor. I did a couple different searches and different things, and I was just maybe thinking it was under, you know, the wrong screenshot or something. But you can buy Conflagrant armor in the bazaar. It usually goes from 5,000 platinum to maybe 10-20,000 platinum per piece. It's fairly cheap. It comes in every single slot, and you can relatively obtain it really easy if you have the trade skills and whatnot. But and that's, you know, I think you can put it on at 106, and it's going to be good until, you know, 110 for sure. And if you can get into the Ring of Scale tier 2 and get that stuff, it's better. But it might be difficult to get to if you don't have, you know, probably Empires of Kunark tier 2 or, you know, the tier 1 Ring of Scale. It's, you know, it's going to be hit or miss on some of that. Maybe you even need the Conflagrant to kill some of the stuff without having stuff out of error. All right. So we're done with Ring of Scale, and now we're in the Burning Lands. The Burning Lands, first tier, just blows away everything. Everything before it, you know, almost like 400 point difference between the Ring of Scale. So the tier 1, this is usable from 105 to 110. So you could, in theory, if you could get the pieces from the Burning Lands, you could skip a lot of progression right there. But you know, the drops come from names, I believe, and it's not trade. I don't believe they're tradable. Then you go to tier 2, it's even better, and then the trade skill version is even better on top of that. But Torment of Velos, the next expansion, has Snowbound armor, which these Snowbound armor is tradable. It comes in a container. You have to go to, I believe, Crystal Caverns, I think, and buy an ore from a dwarf, and you can make the armor. I think it's the ore plus an emblem to make the armor, and as you can see here, it blows away the Burning Lands armor by far. And then tier 2 Tier 2 comes from the Tier 2 zones, and where you would go. So Kale, Velks, and I am totally blanking out on the other one. There's another one. It's not Sleepers, I don't think. But Kale and Velks, they have the Tier 2 armor that drops from the names, and you can get the Icebound armor, which is better than the Snowbound. But on normal servers, that Icebound container is not tradable, but the Snowbound container is tradable on normal servers. On Fronavi, all this stuff is tradable, and you can even buy raid gear without even thinking about it. So, but this is not about raid gear. So, all right. So now we're here. You know, the trade skill versions of that, it's like 500 points better. HP wise, you know, 30 AC. Significant upgrade now. You're kind of going to start seeing the pattern moving forward is that there's a tier 1, a tier 2, and a trade skill tier. I call the trade skill tier tier 3, but I'm denoting it here as the trade skill tier. It is the best you can get per expansion. So now we're in Clausivation. So you can see here the Clausivation tier 1 is better than the Torment of Velos tier 3 or trade skill tier, if you will. The Snow Squall armor, I don't believe these are tradable on normal servers, but it's 110 to 115, so you can kind of skip the Torment of Velos armor and go straight to this if you're 110. It's probably even better than what Battle Worn, so better than the. You could probably skip all this to go straight to there if you want. On Fronavi, you can see all this stuff for sale. And normal servers, I don't believe it's tradable, so people sell loot rights sometimes. And then the tier 2, so this is like Sleepers, Temple of Vishan. What is the other one? There's another one, and they're Sky Shrine. I think those are the tier 2. So the bosses inside of those zones drop the Blizzard armor, which is obviously significantly better than the tier 1, and it is a 115 requirement though, so you have to already be 115, which was the level cap in Clausivation. And then the trade skill armor, which is Valium Threaded, 115 requirement. All the trade skill stuff seems to be a max level requirement for whatever expansion they were introduced. And it's pretty much better than the previous everything. So the trend kind of going there. But now we get into the Terror of Luckland expansion. You'll see right here the Waxing Crescent, which I believe was tradable. I can't remember exactly if it was tradable or not. It's tradable on Fronavi, that's where I play now, so I can't remember. But this one is 115 to 120, so at 115 you can get your hands on the tier 1 stuff. It's not as good as the tier 3 trade skill stuff from Clausivation, but it's in the right direction, right? It's not until tier 2 where it's the armor surpasses it. Tier 2 is the stuff drop from the names. I don't believe there is a difference in that. So this comes from all the mission mobs, I believe. So like Shea Ventalis, what is the other one? I can't remember the names of them. The Vexthal lady and all that stuff. Those drop the Waning Crescent armor, which is no trade on normal servers, but tradable on Fronavi. And then there's the trade skill tier, which is just blows away everything else by another 400 HP, which is these are made. So all the trade skill stuff require a ore that is dropped from starting in, I think, I don't know if it was in Burning Lands, but the names drop an ore randomly, and you need that to make the trade skill armor as a part of one of the items. So sorry if I didn't explain that earlier. So you need the ore that drops from the named, and any mission, any open world named has a chance to drop the ore, along with the trade skill items you need to actually make this stuff. And if you're on Fronavi and you need some combines done, let me know. I'm on almost max trade skill on Nomergard. And then from the Terror of Luckland, we go into the Night of Shadows. And the Night of Shadows immediately blows it away, the trade skill stuff, which is nice for that, right? You immediately jump up, you know, like what, 300 hit points per piece, give or take. You know, it's different on different pieces, obviously, but for the most part. They changed it up, from what I understand, is the names will now drop certain slots. Like previously, you got an item, and I mean, a named could drop any item, right? They would drop the breastplate, it would drop the legs, it would drop whatever, right? It's just completely random. And I believe in this expansion, they kind of made it more specific, so only certain ones and certain tiers drop certain pieces. So to get the breastplate, you have to go kill a certain one, so and so on. I believe that's how they changed it. I have not done much in Night of Shadows yet, so I'm not 100% sure. But you can see tier 1. I don't know if this is tradable or not. I did not look that up. But if it is tradable, you can buy it probably in the bazaar. You just need to go buy the vendor ore and the vendor emblem or whatever. Make the combine, you're done, and you get some sweet armor that is better than the trade skill from the previous expansion. But if you don't have that, you know, if it's not tradable, then you're out of luck. You go kill the names and get it. Then the tier 2 is another pretty significant upgrade, honestly, from the previous tier. And then you get into the trade skill tier, which is, you know, that's even more significant. What is that? That's over 1,000, almost 1,000 hit point difference, I think, if I'm reading that right. So it's pretty significant right there. And then you can only imagine if they can continue this trend, it's gonna be the tier 3 stuff is gonna be blown away. And I don't even want to show you the raid numbers. It's like 15,000. It's not even crazy. It's crazy how much better the raid gear is. But that is too long, didn't read. That's pretty much the progression. I'll try to link this spreadsheet so you guys can see it in the description and take a look if you even care. But pretty much each expansion releases new armor, and those armors overlap with each other in the previous expansion and the next expansion, right? So it's almost like a little puzzle piece, and you just got to get what you get, I think, is probably the best way to go. I would not spend my time farming a full set of anything except maybe Paragon. It's easy to do, and it kind of sets you up into the next stuff, right? I found Underfoot to be extremely difficult as a heroic beast lord. I got absolutely smashed. So I would say, you know, not having good armor in some of these expansions, you're just going to get destroyed. You're not going to be able to progress. It's going to be very frustrating. You might have to jump down from where you are. You might have gotten to level 90, but if you're wearing level, you know, 75 gear, you're going to get smashed. There's no way around it. Like, you need to stay up to date on your armor in all the different level bands here. And your goal is to get the best of the best, is honestly what it is. You might not be able to get it all. Like, you can get the Conflagrant in the vent, you know, really cheap. You might have to go farm some gnomes or something in Beza and Zeka, whatever, for platinum. You know, farming platinum you might have to do to get some of this stuff. You can sell chrono and skip some of this stuff. On Throne of Vi, you can buy raid armor. I bought a raid earring for my necromancer for like 3 chrono, which was 18 million. It's expensive, but it's the best. Like, then even the new raid stuff is not as it's almost as good, right? So the raid tier stuff is always going to be better than the normal stuff by a significant margin, right? Buying Terror of Luckland raid stuff is going to be better than the Knights of Shadow trade skill stuff, hands down. No question about it, right? I think some of the Claws of Vishan raid gear is better than some of the other stuff. So you just got to look at the stuff, the gear, and see where you fall and where you want to go. But pretty much, you got to go through the progression of the expansions, unless you can skip it, and that's pretty much the too long didn't read. with an even longer too long didn't read. But there we go. If you have any questions, comments, let me know, and I can help answer those questions. I get this question a lot. Which armor should I be wearing? And it's not as easy as just saying go get conflagrant armor and you're good to go, right? I mean, you could go any of these ways. So like if you're 110, telling you to get one conflagrant armor is not going to be that great when you could probably skip to Snowbound, right? Or if you're 115, maybe you should get Snow Squall because it's going to be so much better than everything else. So it's tricky to kind of answer those questions like that. But thank you very much for watching and have a fantastic day.